Now, there's absolutely no way you could understand this video unless you had an alcoholic in your life who has either succumbed to the disease or dragged you through a lot of toxicity and pain and drama. There's no way you could understand what I'm about to talk about, because you get to the point as a family member where you have to make yourself a priority. You have to take care of yourself. Otherwise, you will literally go out of your mind. And a lot of people who have been through this will suffer from PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome, after that relationship or after that issue is over, because it is so much drama, so much toxicity, so much never-ending focus on the person who is suffering from alcohol use disorder. Nothing against that person, it is a disorder, but the influence and the stress that it lays upon family is just unbelievable, and it's something that needs to be talked about, because I'm a big advocate for families and what they've gone through. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story if you don't know it already. My wife passed away from alcohol use disorder a little over 5 years ago. She went to 7 rehabilitation facilities. She had 4 DUIs, multiple outpatient situations. She had counseling. Some of it was court ordered. She was under house arrest a number of times for 3 months, 2 different times. She lost her freedom. I mean, all kinds of never-ending drama, most of which occurred the last 7, 8 years of her life. It wasn't like that the whole time. But it's important to understand you cannot want something more for somebody than they want it for themselves. And if you see them going down that road and everything has been done and nothing more can be done in your mind, I mean, don't ever give up on the person, but you do have to make yourself a priority. I'm going to tell you a little bit story about the end of my wife's life, unfortunately. Now, in January of 2020, I dropped my wife off at her 7th rehabilitation facility. She had been drinking heavily for months, and the only reason why we hadn't put her back into a rehab facility is because she had had a knee replacement surgery, and she had been recovering from that really all fall of 2019. We got through Christmas, and it was January. My son was in college, and in my mind, I was ready to part ways, and I've talked a little bit about it. I was really setting up a situation where I needed to part ways. And we were married for 25 years, that's the thing. So my plan was to put her into a rehabilitation facility and then into what's called a sober living facility where she could stay for a year. I wanted her to have some kind of bridge where she could, have the opportunity to really take back her life, get a job, get back to some kind of normalcy. I wanted her to at least have that last opportunity. Beyond that, I was through. Now, unfortunately, I dropped her off at her 7th rehabilitation facility in LA. She fell down a flight of stairs the following day. Why that happened, we'll never know. I don't know if she purposely fell. No one was watching her. Why there was a set of stairs at a rehab facility. It was a residential house and a residential neighborhood. It was one of those types. But unfortunately, they called me up the next day. They were all frantic. I didn't think it was any big deal. She had fallen down the stairs at our house a number of times. And then about a week later, the hospital called, and I didn't even realize she wasn't even in the rehab. I thought she just went to the hospital and went back to the rehab. Nobody was really communicating. But a doctor called me up at 3 o'clock in the morning and said, your wife's heart had stopped. And that we need an order of resuscitation for future. She's okay at this present time. I'm just like, what? What do you mean her heart stopped? I thought she was back at the rehab. She goes, no, she's in ICU at Ronald Reagan. I'm just like, well, this is the first time I'm hearing this. And she'd been in there a week already. So I realized how serious it was at the time. I had no idea. I had no idea at the time. My thinking, and I'll continue. And after that incident, I realized I had to call her family, and I called my family. And I think we realized the seriousness at the time. Even then, I was very hesitant. I didn't really want to go see her. I mean, you have to come to the point where you gotta step away. You gotta step away from the insanity of it all. I mean, my vantage point at that time was she was going to get through this like she had every other time. Okay, and that was my vantage point. Unfortunately, my brother flew out from Vermont to California. It took him a long time through a snowstorm. God bless him. I'm glad he made it. But he pretty much demanded that I go into LA and see her. I didn't want to. I really went there under duress. And I mean, that's where I was at the time. And if you're a family member, you will understand when you get to that point. But we drove in, took all day. We saw her. It was horrible. She was really in a coma. She was writhing in pain. She was uncommunicative, and there really wasn't a whole lot you could do. We stayed about an hour, and I said, I can't. I don't want to be around this anymore. My brother was kind of like, okay. And I talked to the nurses at that time and the doctor, and I said, why are we prolonging this? I mean, at the time, she had machines to keep her alive. She was on kidney dialysis. All kinds of things were, IVs. And she really wasn't really functioning. She really had no quality of life at that point. So, and they believed at that time that they were going to be able to get her through, and that there was a probability that she would be okay. I was like, I doubt it. Okay, and my attitude, they didn't like my attitude. My attitude was, okay, and then what? So she survives this. She's going to go back right to drinking, the following month. I mean, why are we prolonging this? I mean, we'll be right back here 6 months from now. Why are we prolonging this? And they got upset with me, but they didn't understand where I had been. So we went home, and another 2 weeks, actually about another 10, 15 days went by. And about a week before my wife passed away, and this seems very cold, but it's just not. It's really not. My sister came out from Florida. She wanted to see Amanda too. And we weren't really thinking that it was the last time I was. I don't think they were. And we drove in to LA again, I really kind of went there under duress. I just, and the thing is, Amanda woke up for about 30 seconds, and we looked at each other, and really our last conversation, I said, I love you, and she said, I love you back, and she looked at my sister like, wow, this must be really bad if your sister's here. And she didn't even know my brother had been there, 10 days earlier. She didn't even know. She wasn't even conscious of it. That's how bad off she had gotten at that point. But unfortunately, she did pass away 5 days after that. And again, we had to run out, and I've told stories about that. In fact, the memoir is, opens with that scene, us running in there with a good friend of hers. And it was pretty atrocious. I mean, they gave me an hour to get to LA, and it was 100 miles away through LA traffic. We made it before she passed away, but pretty atrocious time. And once you go through that, you really have the ability to focus on yourself again. And people think, oh, that's how narcissistic of you. No, it's human. It's very human of you. If you've been through it for decades, there is a point where you're not. It's not about your life anymore. You don't really have one. It's become all about that person, and it's a very toxic, exhausting environment to live in. Families that have gone through this will definitely relate to everything I'm talking about. And really everything I'm talking about is in the memoirs called Amanda, A Cautionary Tale of Alcoholism. It was a story of her 25-year decline with the disease. Last 7-8 years, really what the book's about. You can find it in the link tree on this page. It's available at my website. It's also available, and there's a international link. It's available anywhere in the world. You can get it on an ebook at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and the Apple website. And again, thanks so much for listening.